Hey guys, welcome back to the Training Captain. So we're just going to have a quick look at descending in the Airbus A320. So at the moment we're on a arrival into Scotland, and as you can see here's our little descent arrow, which means we need to start descending very shortly. We're flight level 260 at the moment, and there's a restriction here at this waypoint, flight level 260, so we shouldn't really descend until after that waypoint. Next restriction, this waypoint here, flight level 200, then there's a couple of speed restrictions. Tartan here, flight level 70. So generally when we've got some restrictions here, it's always a good idea to use managed descent to start descending, and that's going to ensure that we maintain these restrictions on the vertical profile on the way down. So these little range rings here, so we've got 60, 40, this is a 20, halfway there is 10, which means just within 10 miles we're going to have to start descending. So generally ATC will probably tell us about now to start descending now. So we're just going to assume they've given us flight level, let's go flight level 200. There we go. So as you can see, just about on the top of descent there. So as soon as we get that from ATC, ask us to descend to flight level 200. Best way to do it on the outs FCU knob here, so we push that. As you can see, we've got out constraint, so that's basically the aircraft telling us that we've got a restriction here of flight level 260, so it doesn't want to start descending until we get to that point. This little green donut here, this shows us our vertical profile, so as soon as that gets to the middle there, the aircraft tells us that it's happy now to descend. And there we go, flight level 200, speed des. Now these are going to take us down, and it's going to ensure that we get to this point here in rev at exactly flight level 200. If for some reason we're on the descent and we want to get down a little bit quicker, ATC asks us to increase our descent rate, or we want to get a little bit below the profile if we think we may get a shortcut or we've got a very strong tailwind. The other way we can do it here, same thing on the out knob, we pushed it before. Now if we pull it, that's going to take us into open descent. Open descent is basically going to disregard any restrictions here, and it's going to maintain this speed, but it's going to give us whatever descent rate it decides to give us to maintain 250 knots to allow us to go down quicker. If we need to go down quicker still, pull speed or increase the speed, and if you have a look at what that does to our descent rate, so let's increase our speed to 270 knots. So now in order to maintain 270 knots, it's got to die down. So 3,700 feet per minute, 3,800 feet per minute, and as soon as it maintains 270 knots, then it will start easing off a little bit. But that's just another little way of getting down a bit quicker. So we go back to manage speed, we push that, get speed descent. So now it knows that we're below the profile to get to flight level 200 in rev. So as we're below profile, it can bring the nose back up a little bit, reduce the vertical speed. It's always a minimum of 1,000 feet per minute, and it's going to do that 1,000 feet per minute descent until we get back on the profile. So this green donut comes into the middle here. Once that comes into the middle, then it's going to descend further just to ensure that we reach in rev at flight level 200. Other way, we've got vertical speed as well. We can do that if we want to manage the profile ourselves. So again, we can pull that, so we have VS, and that will just lock on to whatever vertical speed was at the time when we decided to pull it. So at the moment we're a tiny bit above the profile, so we can just wind it up a little bit, or wind it down. There we go. So minus 2,000 feet per minute. And the nose is going to come down a bit, and that's going to allow us, probably need a little bit more actually, to go 2,500 feet per minute. Let's keep the descent coming down. Let's head all the way down to flight level 70, which is our restriction at Tartan here. There we go, so VS 2,000 feet per minute, so we're managing that descent ourselves now. It is a good way of doing it. It does give you control. The only thing is that you probably will have to make quite a few corrections on here. So the easiest way of doing it initially in the descent, push out, that'll put us in descent mode. and as long as these restrictions are in the box, it will keep us in nav, so it will keep us on this nav line, so that will take care of our lateral navigation, and descent will take care of our vertical navigation in terms of the restrictions, flight level 70. Speed restrictions here go into manage speed, and that will take care of it. As you can see, ESCO 250 knots, that's just above 250 knots at the moment, but in managed speed auto thrust is engaged, so that's going to slowly start reducing the speed back here. Yeah, let's just reduce the range here on the ND a little bit, zoom in. There we have it. So we're on profile, which means the nose is going to come up a little bit, and that's going to allow the speed to bleed off, and it's got a managed speed of 250 knots. So that complies with ESTO. More drag, it's just showing us there. That's just again showing we're getting a little bit higher in the profile. So if that's the case, we're in descent mode. Again, if we need more drag, it's telling us we need to get down a little bit more. So we could easily use the speed brakes to do that if we want to stay in des. So 320, we only get half speed brake, and that will slowly start increasing the descent rate here. We take a look at the outside of the aircraft to see the speed brakes. There we go. Speed brake there pops up on the wing on both sides, and that's just going to disrupt the airflow over the wing and increase the rate of descent. Okay, so managed speed, bang on profile, and as we can see, the level off, which is this little blue descent arrow here, that's showing that we're going to level at tartan at flight level 70, and that is the restriction that we've got here. In terms of the speed, so we've got 230 knots, it wants us to be at tartan. This little magenta dot here is the point at which the aircraft is going to start slowing down, so it's going to reduce from 250 to 230 knots, and it's calculated that it's going to need this distance to reduce to make sure there are 230 knots at tartan. So that's it, guys. So that's how we descend in the Airbus. Speed brake showing in amber, so bring that back in. That basically shows that we've got speed brake against the thrust of the engines, which we don't want. So yeah, like I said, that's how we descend in the Airbus. So initially on a normal arrival with the restrictions, we just push out and then just let the aircraft take care of the descent for us. If we need to descend a little bit quicker, we'd pull for open climb, and then we can get down quicker. Like I showed you with the speed, we can increase the speed to increase the descent rate, and we can also use the speed brakes. Half speed brake on a 320, 319 has full speed brake available to increase the descent. There we go, hope you found that useful.